And greetings and welcome to the QCast. This is season 4, episode 51. We continue to roll on. Thank you to all of you for the support and following along with the QCast. It's been a great season. We're now in off-season mode, and we continue to focus on some of the big coaching changes in NCAA Division III. And when opportunity knocks for somebody, the dominoes fall and opportunity ends up knocking for someone else. And in this case, Sean Smith leaving North Park in the CCIW for destination, which I am not sure which D1 he's going to yet. We'll pause that one for a second. But the brand new head coach of the North Park Vikings is with me, and that's Edwind McGhee. Edwin, congratulations. Welcome to the QCast. How's everything going on the north side of Chicago?
First of all, thank you, Bob, for having me. I'm excited to be on here and excited for the position I'm in now. It's a blessing, man. I can't say anything, but God is good. So I'm excited about what we have here in North Park. You know, this is a tough league, and the fierce competitor that I am, I love being in it and love competing on a nightly basis. So we're going to continue to try to move North Park forward. In our first year, we did some special things when we first got here, and that's a testament to the guys we have and the staff that we had, and we're going to continue to push forward. So loving things on the north side right now, that's for sure.
To talk a little bit, you talked about the league and how tough it is. Would like to build on that a little bit. You've been the assistant at North Park, or you were the assistant for 2 years, I believe, right? The last two seasons. And your background before that wasn't CCIW. You know, you played at DePaul, so you played for the Blue Demons, and you were at NAI Lincoln, and and then 2 years in the CCIW. Now, what are your impressions of the league after seeing the battles here for the last two full seasons?
It's really good. There are, and we sometimes use this in recruiting when we talk to potential transfers and those things. Like there's Division I, Division II transfers here every year in the league. There's
Right.
guys who transfer out. They go Division I and Division II. So it's the cream of the crop when it comes to Division III basketball. And I would be lying if I said I knew what Division III basketball looked like before being here in North Park.
Right.
But since being here, it's a great brand of basketball and super competitive, especially our league where you're battling every night. And the league is not as separated as I think it used to be. Just doing my
Right.
research, I think there are some teams that are there that can kind of climb to the top, and some teams that can kind of take it from the middle to the top, and those things too. So the competitiveness throughout the league is great, and the brand of Division III basketball I think really resonates from the CCIW, just from a competitive standpoint.
And very well said. You know, I've been following the league for a long, long time, and it's a league that never lets you down in terms of the quality of basketball from start to finish, and the rivalries. And every Wednesday and Saturday, you kind of have to strap it in because it's gonna be a battle. Um, Looking over your shoulder there, I can see the tail end of the last two national championships. So you're the head coach now, Edwin, of a program that has 5 national championships. That's the most in NCAA men's basketball, or Division III men's basketball. A very proud tradition. It always strikes me when I watch the streams for your games, and you see on that end of the cracker box the 5 banners, and nobody else has that. What's it like being part of a program with that kind of tradition?
It feels great, man. It's a testament to what North Park is, what North Park can provide for student athletes. Um, it shows that we are competitive. It shows that we have a standard, and we're going to try to chase that. We're not afraid to talk about those things because it's been done here 5 times, right? And I think if you continue to build it, it will show. And our goal is to add another banner. if the Lord permits, and I'm still here and I have a chance to do that, I'm going to try my darn hardest to do it. And it's just a testament to what North Park is, and to the alumni before, and the administration before, and it just kind of resonates throughout campus too, and not just men's basketball too. We have a lot of other successful programs, in our men's soccer team and our women's volleyball team, and football is getting a lot better, and it's just a testament to what North Park is and what it's going to be in the future. So I'm excited. I love the challenge. I keep bringing that back, but that first year we're about three games away from
Right.
putting another one up there. So
Right.
we're excited about the direction that North Park is headed. Obviously, that's the ultimate goal. But on a daily basis, we're just going to do the best we can to move our student athletes forward, and academically and athletically and in the community. So I think if you do those three things at a high level, uh, those championships will follow.
You mentioned that season, two seasons ago when you got all the way to the Sweet 16. I believe let's see, you were in Mount Union after winning that Wash U regional, and 24-6, 13-3 in the league. You get to the Sweet 16. Talk about what that run was like. Well, not just the run in the tournament, but the season in general. I mean, you guys were just really hard to play against that year. The way you defended and just wreaked havoc on an opposing team, especially one that didn't handle the ball incredibly well, like you'd force a million turnovers. What was that 2022-23 season like?
Uh, if you would have told us before the year that this was the end would have been a Sweet 16 appearance in a conference tournament championship, we'd have told you were crazy. But it was a lot of fun. Obviously, we had a great group of guys at that on that team, and a great group of leaders, and a few seniors that we had, and it was fun, man. It was a year where we definitely had a chip on our shoulders. We had a brand new staff. We had to bring in a brand new team, and we had a lot of guys who on that team who people kind of wrote off, to be completely honest, at other spots or whatever it was, and we kind of tried to put some fire in them, and let them know, like, hey, you can do some big things here if you buy into what we got going on here, and you become incredible teammates, and you play the game of basketball with the passion and love that you say you have for it. So that season will always be etched in my memory,
Sure.
as one of the best that I've ever been a part of, and it was very, very special. We had a special group of guys, and it's a testament to them. And they some of the seniors that graduated still come back and support, which is great. And we're trying to continue to develop that uh, family atmosphere that allow for us to kind of take that push forward in that season.
What was the process like once Coach Smith announced that he was leaving? Um, I'm just, as much as you can share with it. I mean, did you have to go through an interview process for the job? Was there talk of doing a big national search, or like just talk through how it ended from Coach Smith leaving to you getting named the head coach as much as you can?
It actually went pretty quickly, because the day that Coach Smith decided that he was leaving, I had a quick meeting with our AD about some things, and it kind of moved quickly from there to
Great.
meeting with our VP and our president, and eventually met with our guys in that same week, and kind of told them what the situation was. And the biggest thing for me was making sure that the guys were fine with what's going on, and you could tell there was a sigh of relief,
Right.
from Coach Smith announcing that he was leaving, to me being promoted. So it happened pretty fast, and I'm just grateful for our administration, AD Bourne, and President Surge, and VP Scola for trusting in me and having that belief, that I can lead this program. And I'm excited to keep rolling, and to continue to call North Park home. So I'm blessed. Can't say anything else but that.
Yeah, and kudos to North Park for how they handled this. I think, I've seen this go different ways, where all of a sudden there's this big national search and it takes 60 days. And, now we get into May or somewhere in that. And that's a lot of time, especially when the guy is right there right there in the building. So kudos to North Park for how quickly this moved. It sounds weird to say, but just the speed at which they handled this, I think you'd agree, Coach, is there's a big difference in how the guys process that. I mean, let's say it takes 60 days and a bunch of guys leave, and now you're starting over again. Boy, that's tough. So
Yeah.
I think for you to get in there right away and be able to tell the guys, hey, here's my vision, here's what we're going to do. Would you agree that's a big deal that it happened so fast?
Yeah, I do think so. I think that um, with time can come more thoughts and more
Right.
decisions that need to be made, and for those guys. And I think to have some familiarity with who I am, and obviously was part of the recruiting process to get these guys here. So there is some type of familiarity to who I am and what we do, and that helped. And I would say I'll be lying if I didn't say it did. I would be lying if I said it didn't help. But my first job or first task as the new head coach was to meet with everybody individually and see how they felt about the situation. Make sure that we're on the same page. What are some things that that they thought about when it was
Sure.
happening, and those things. Just checking in with them. So those meetings actually just finished up this week. I got announced last Friday, and it's been a week now. And my goal was number one thing priority was our guys that are currently on campus and making sure that they were uh, on the same page, and then we can move forward. So
Before we get back to kind of talking about current state, I want to go backwards a little bit. I believe that you grew up in Champaign, Illinois, went to Champaign Central High School. When you were making your college decision, I know you ended up going to DePaul as at the time, I believe, as a walk-on that later earned a scholarship. And I'm just curious what your college decision was like. Did you have some D2s on you, some NAIs? Like, what was the decision based on that led you to taking that walk on at DePaul?
that's a great question. And this is very different than uh, I guess nowadays. I didn't have that much guidance on the different levels
Sure.
of college basketball. Just to be completely honest, we when I was in Champaign, we had a lot of really really good players,
Yeah.
guys who played at Champaign Centennial. They won state when I was a junior. They had 5 Division I players in their team. I had the year before I got to the varsity level at Central. There were 3 or 4 Division I players.
Yeah.
I played with another Division I player, went to Purdue, and I was so that's all I knew, right? So for me, that was the goal because of just everybody else I was surrounded around, as far as like the older players and the players that we grew up with as kids, playing with each other in the parks and eighth grade basketball and all those things, and everybody's going to that level. For me, that's what I wanted to do. And I did get recruited by several D2s. I did get recruited by a couple of D3s. And, I was probably, again, a little naive back in the day, just thinking like I need to go Division I or bust. And that was because I just didn't really know what that was, and just based off the situation that was around me. But I wouldn't change it for the world. I've gained a lot of friendships. I would say probably besides my brothers, everybody that was in my wedding was from DePaul. So those are the things in the relationships that I developed there that I will never change. And when I get a chance, I still try to go over and watch a couple of games and cheer the Blue Demons on as much as I can. But no, that's something I wouldn't change. But I would say I was probably a little bit naive
Sure.
to the rest of the college basketball world when I was making a decision.
And isn't it interesting that like you're exactly the kind of recruit that you need the Vikings to land every now and then, right? Is the kid that's got the D2s on him and has the D1 walk on opportunity.
Yeah.
Like you're the perfect D3 recruit. And so it kind of comes full circle a little bit, doesn't it? I mean, you know what I'm
No
saying?
doubt. Yeah, no doubt about it. I was like, if I'd have known, I was like, I didn't the transfer thing. I didn't know about that, and granted, like I wasn't playing a whole lot of minutes my first few years at DePaul, and I was just blessed to be a part of a program that was playing in, the best conference in the country at the time, and
Yeah.
excited about all those things. But obviously, the competitor in me wanted to play a little more, but I had really no idea about the transfer. Like the transfer portal wasn't really a thing
Right.
then.
Right.
I knew there was a couple of people that did transfer. I didn't know what that situation was like. I was like, I love Chicago. I don't want to leave, so I'm gonna stick it out. And but yeah, that if I would have known, it might have been something different.
Right.
But I'm blessed that I didn't know, because now I have an opportunity to be where I am now and still have those relationships that I have.
And I'm just curious, your time at DePaul again. We mentioned you started out as a walk on. You end up getting a scholarship, and not only that, you end up starting, I believe, 5 games as
Yes.
a senior, which is a I can't think there's a large number of kids that start out as walk ons at the D1 level and end up starting 5 games. That's a big deal in a conference like DePaul's in. And what was that like? Like, how did you turn yourself from the guy that was a walk on to getting on the floor? Like, what was that process like for you over 4 years?
So the funny thing is, when I wasn't a preferred walk on or anything. I took the real traditional route
Sure,
and tried out. So when I first got to campus, uh, I was in our rec center every day, and I obviously love the game. I played all the time, and I actually started off on our club team. And I was like, our club team is really good. Like there's
sure,
some dudes on our club team,
right,
and I was like the only freshman to pretty much make the team. And one of the guys was out there like, you should probably try out, man, for the team. And I was like, yeah, I plan on it. And I'm just trying to figure out when the dates are. And um, so for me, like the mindset and the drive that I had was when I first got to practice. Our trial was pretty much practice. So we went in there, we practiced with the team, the 13 scholarship guys,
sure,
and my mentality was I'm gonna be first in every sprint. That was it. So I was like, I probably won't touch the ball at all in here. I probably won't get a shot, but I'm going to beat everybody in this gym in sprint. So every time we had to run, I was the first one, and I didn't lose. I didn't lose a sprint, and that kind of led me to having an opportunity for Coach Purnell, who I played for, to
sure.
call me. And I came back on like a trial basis for more practices. And it was after one practice, my first practice at Allstate Arena that we used to play at out in Rosemont,
Yeah,
is when I got the call. And he formally asked me if I wanted to be on the roster. And was so excited about that. And kind of fast forward, through my career there. I was a walk on. I was also the team captain, along with one of our
it's amazing.
real like one of our better players. I think he's top 10 in scoring in DePaul history or something like
Wow,
that. But yeah, so it was me and him, and I was more so the vocal leader, keeping everybody encouraged, kind of the liaison between
sure.
coach and players and all those things. And we had a couple of injuries when I was a senior, and I came to work every day. I was the scout team guy. So
Sure.
I got to be the Kimball Walker when we were scout team. So I was like, this is great. I get to shoot all the balls, and I
That's
get to
great.
kind of showcase my skills. And so when that opportunity came, the end of my senior year, I was ready, and had an opportunity, like you said, to start 5 games in the Big East when the Big East was crazy. But it was just a testament to the work that was put in the entire time I was there. There was no time where I wanted to quit. There was no time that I was like, man, I wish I was playing more. Obviously, I did, but there was no time that
Sure.
people could see that, coaches could see that and feel that. Right? It was more so, hey, I'm here for the team, and eventually that paid off and allowed for me to have a little bit of success towards the end of my career.
I'm curious how much that helps you coach some of your guys, and I don't mean like the star guys that right away are clearly going to play the Kolden Vanlandinghams and the Jalen and Jordan Boyds of the world and Marquise Jackson, but more you've got a bunch of guys that, let's say, play junior varsity for a year or two that are grinding their way up the roster. They're not quite ready, and they're out there grinding, kind of like you were as that true walk on. Does it the fact that you had to do that yourself as a player, does that help you coach some of those guys and help them stay motivated? And I'm just curious if there's a tie there or not.
Oh, 100%, 100%. You know, that mentality that you have from from when things aren't going your way is going to determine how far you get, right? If you buy into the fact like, hey, I'm not at the spot where I want to be, and this is not working out for me, and you change directions, it can still get harder. Like there's no for sure that you're going to find what you're
Right.
looking for on the other side. So I definitely use that. You know, I'm a little older now, right? So I try to keep away from my experiences versus their experiences, but I do have some idea of what they're going through, and I try to, talk them through those things because it's not easy, right? It won't be easy. You know, trying to grind and trying to get to the spot that you want to get to, but if you continue to do work, the work is going to show, right? And the work is
Right.
going to pay off. And one of the pillars or um, kind of the culture, one of our culture words for the program is resiliency, right? Like we want to be, we want to stay resilient through whatever the situation is,
Right.
whatever comes our way, whether we won six in a row or whether we lost
Sure.
six in a row. How are you going to approach the next game? How are you going to approach the next practice? How are you going to approach the next drill? Right? You're not going to let that what happened defeat you. And just like a side note too, so when I was at school, I was obviously still paying for school to as a walk on, and
Right.
um, there was an opportunity or was a thought that I might not be able to play because I there was one point where I didn't have the tuition payment to register for classes, so I had missed a couple of practices, and I was really beside myself in that situation, and I could have just let that kind of tear me off, like you know what, this is probably not for me right now, right?
Right.
I just don't can't I can't do it. But um, you know, God works in mysterious ways and allowed for me to continue on and push. And that next season is when I got my scholarship. So it's those things, right? Like if you
Sure.
continue to do the work and you understand that, the work will show and you believe I'm a heavy spiritual guy when I really believe God has a plan for us. And if you really do believe in those things and you put the work in, right, like it's going to show and it's going to happen. So, yeah, absolutely, we use that. That's just part of who I
Yeah.
am, and the reason why I believe that I'm here now. So,
Talking about this past season a little bit, this has been kind of dissected as much as things can be dissected on Twitter. That is, um, you went into the season with high expectations. I think you were picked. Were you picked to win the league first or second? I can't remember where it ended
yep.
up, but a couple of things. First, this is my opinion: is that I feel like some people discounted the value of the guys that you lost. Like it seemed like there was this thought that like North Park returns everybody, but you lose the Boyds and Marquise Jackson, and like those are three of your best players, and you brought in a lot. You had a lot of transfers come in this past year.
Mhm.
I'm just curious, like the season did not go the way you wanted it to. It just seemed like from the get go, it was the pieces weren't connecting or something. As I would watch your games, it's like that doesn't look like the same team. What's your take, Edwin, on this past season and how you would kind of dissect the Vikings year?
Yeah, I think, if you ask the guys who were here, I think there was we didn't understand how young we really were. I thought that when you have 4 or 5 fifth-year guys, that first year, whether they were transfers or been here, um, that that leadership is kind of innate and it's there. And we did return, quite a few guys from that
Sure.
team. But again, we had one senior in Shamar who played,
Right.
significant minutes that year before. So, it was different. And it's just, again, you talk about the league, it's hard, right? To um, compete and win with
Right.
younger guys all the
Yeah.
time. And just we have some guys who haven't really experienced the league before and how physical it is, and some of those things play an account. So I would say from an overarching standpoint, it was a year of reflection, trying to understand, what we need to do better, how do we need to coach certain things, or how do we need to approach certain things on a daily basis, that necessarily we didn't have this previous year. So that's what I would say. I would say it was more so um, understanding that there were a lot of more teaching moments last year than there were the year before because of the
Right.
youth that we had on our team. We played couple of freshmen this year, where last year we maybe played one. Lance Nelson played
Right.
the year before that, and he was probably the only freshman that touched the floor, right? So um, I think that's a big difference too, and hopefully with a little bit more, uh, experience that these guys had this past year will allow for us to make some leaps this year, having that opportunity to play.
It's not an easy league to try to reload or rebuild in either. That's like
Yeah.
I think back to the season that my alma mater had the 2 years ago when you had the amazing season. Is I felt like IW had a really talented team, but there was just a couple pieces here and there that weren't quite right, and boy, they had a disastrous season. And it's just not an easy league to
Yeah.
try to figure something out, because by the time you figure it out, you're halfway through the season and you're taking your lumps, and would you agree with that? Like it's a pretty gauntlet of a schedule.
Oh, no question about it. And if you look at our schedule right now, I mean, we feel like we play half the WEACs, and then we got to go right
Yeah.
into CCIW play. So, you know, for me, I love it. It's the competitor in me. But yeah, no, it's tough. It's very very tough, and to win on a consistent basis in this league, you have to be really good, and you have to have a solid foundation. You have to have obviously talented players. There's Hall of Fame coaches in this league, right? That you're going against every night, which is fun for us. And but yeah, it's tough. And we tell this all the time to recruits, like if you could win in this league, you can win across the country.
Oh yeah.
So that's kind of another reason why uh, I was so excited about this job, because I think that obviously if you can do things in this league, you can do things nationally, and ultimately make a push towards the NCAA tournament, and that's always the goal.
Yeah, I think it's been proven out. If you're good enough to win the CCIW, you're good enough to get to a Final Four. It doesn't always mean that happens, but if you look at the history of the league, that league champion usually does pretty darn well in the tournament. And
For sure.
it's one of the great things about the job that you've just gotten is there's a lot of places in Division III. I don't think you can say that about, like, you can win your league. You're going to run into the NESCAC or the UAA or the WIAC and be in, like, but in the CCIW, if you can win the CCIW, you've got a chance. Um, this time of year, I know nowadays I don't get too much into personnel because personnel is confusing and there's transfer portals and all this stuff. But I do have to ask. First of all, I can't remember. Was Shamar Pumphrey, was he a fifth year senior, a true senior? Does Shamar Pumphrey return for you, or has he moved on? I can't remember.
He's moved on. He was fifth year. Yep.
Okay, he's a fifth year. He was a phenomenal player, by the way, like
Yeah.
phenomenal player. And then I know there was some word that Kolden Vanlandingham, who's your returning first team CCIW guy, was in the portal. And do we know any more about his intentions next year?
Well, he's still in the portal now. I know and it's funny because we kind of had this conversation with him uh, when he first got here, because we knew how good he was,
Yeah.
and we told him like, hey, we understand, right? Like there might be an opportunity for you, if you do what you're supposed to do here, to search and have a chance to play elsewhere, and earn a scholarship. And we were very transparent with him. Like, if you need our help in that, we will help you. So right now, I know he's still in. We've had a couple of conversations here and there, just checking in with each other. Nothing solidified or anything like that. So for me, man, like it's um, I would be remiss if I didn't give him an opportunity if he wanted to come back or play
Yeah.
and do it. Like he's done so much for the program that it's his decision ultimately, and
Right.
our relationship is going to be our relationship. I love Kolden to life. He's one of the better players and one of the better people I've coached. So, for me, it's just kind of taking that coach hat off and kind of being
Yeah.
a mentor or a guide and just, hey man, whatever you need help with, just let me know. So
Yeah.
that's
He's
kind of where we are right now.
fantastic player, 18 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists. He was a 6'1" junior this past season, first team all CCIW. And just a reminder for people that might be watching the QCast is just because a student athlete is in the transfer portal doesn't mean that they're definitely leaving where
Yeah,
they are. A good example is Logan Pearson from Wisconsin Platteville. Each of the last 2 seasons, he went in the portal and ended up coming back to Platteville.
yeah.
We'll see where Kolden Vanlandingham ends up. Again, I think everyone would want me to ask about that because he's such a fantastic player, impressive kid. Just talking a little bit as we start to wind up, I'm curious about recruiting and the type of kid you're looking for. I think that there's different ways nowadays to build a roster, high school players, transfers, but at the end of the day, is there a type of kid that you're looking for your program, Edwin?
Yeah, I think there is a high character, talented, and then high academic, right? I think if you can combine those three specific um, characteristics into one kid, you can find some special players out here, and that might be a freshman, and it might be a transfer from a junior college or a transfer
Sure.
from another 4 year, right? So those look different in every aspect, but those are the three things that we really look for when it comes to recruiting. And we've had success with transfers, and we've gotten some really good freshmen here as well. And I think it's going to be a continual mix of
Sure.
freshmen and transfers, just based off the climate that we're in right now,
Yeah.
college basketball. Right, there's a lot more. It's a lot more fluidity when it comes to recruiting. Right,
Right.
um, there's a there's a freshman route you can take and try to get the best freshman possible, but sometimes those freshmen are waiting for a scholarship, and they kind of get sometimes lost in the shuffle. Or there's the transfer route where there's players who play at a higher level but didn't get the
Right.
experience or the opportunity they thought they were, and they come back. Or so it's fluid, and for us, we're open to recruiting not only the best players but the best people. That's one thing that we talk about in our pitches is we want to bring in high character guys who regardless of if we're on a I keep using this example, but if we're on a 6 game win streak or a 6 game losing streak, are you going to be the same guy that comes to work every day?
Right.
And it's hard, right? It's hard to be the same guy when you win 6 in a row. As far as a competitive standpoint and
Right.
focus standpoint, it's also hard to be the same person when you lost six in a row when things feel like the world is falling apart. So those are the main things that we look for in recruiting, and I think you can find those in both older guys and transfers and in potential high school freshmen.
Yeah, and I think nowadays in Division III, even programs that don't lean on transfers, everyone has to be involved in the transfer stuff to some degree because there's just so many kids in the
Yeah,
transfer portal. If you look at the Division I and Division II numbers in the portal, it's just crazy. And so
yeah,
there's a lot of opportunities out there. And I think even programs that are telling you they're not interested in transfers, I don't know that that's completely legit. I believe every program right now has their eye on that portal and is looking for where some kid might fit their program. That's just where we are. I think that'll a little bit change just to a little percentage when this 5th year COVID thing ends. This will be the last year of that. So there'll be one less year of eligibility floating around. But I think the era we're in the era of the transfer portal, and that part isn't changing.
yeah.
Just last question for you, Edwin, and then maybe see what your final thoughts are here today. But the culture that you're trying to build, that's kind of a fluffy question that probably everyone's asking you, like, what's your culture? But I think it's a real question. I think it's a good question. When we look at the North Park Vikings that take the floor in November, and then all through the season next year, through the conference tourney and beyond, what is it that you're trying to put on the floor? Like what culture should we be looking for from the Vikings?
Yeah, that's a great question. We're going to stay the same. We're going to be who we are, especially what we've been the last 2 years. We've had some success in that. We're planning on being a lot better than we were last year in doing that. You know, that might not translate to wins automatically. I believe it will, but we're going to play our butts off, and we're going to fly around. We're going to create havoc. Um, the word I keep using is annoying. We're going to be annoying. um, but that's just going to be a testament to how we practice and how we get after it on a daily basis. And again, I think um, there is room for us to continue to grow here. As far as the the level that we can play at. I don't think we've reached that peak. Obviously, 2 years ago was great, but I think there's more that we can do here. So, we're going to be exciting. We're going to play fast. We're going to continue to get into people, and I feel as if we can continue to do that at a high level, we'll have an opportunity, we'll have a shot to continue to compete at this in this conference and hopefully nationally. So we're excited about it. I think you know me on the sidelines is a little different than I am on a podcast. So I kind of exude what we are on those sidelines and how intense I am, and I love competing, and I love when our guys are excited. So you'll see that, and it's going to hopefully exude through the rest of our players.
I should also ask you one more question before we leave about Sean Smith. I thought that he did a fantastic job in a short time there, and he joined me on the QCast a couple different times, and I really enjoyed his sincerity and his approach and how humble he is. And I just wanted to ask you, but before we wrap this up, to just talk a little bit about Sean Smith.
That's my brother, man. I love that dude. He's big time. He's elite. He's elite person connector. He's a elite coach. He's just a person that you want to be around on a daily basis. I love working for him. We worked really really well together. We were kind of very similar in a lot of aspects of how we approach the game and how we communicate and those things. So I'm excited for him and his family about the transition that he's made to the Division I level. And I actually talked to him a little bit yesterday, just checking in on him and seeing how things were going. But no, that's my brother, man, and I love him. I love him to life. So I can't say anything bad about him. He's big time.
One thing he did that I hope you continue is the post game interview. I love those, where like he's on the floor level and Greg Sager's up here at the top, right? He's kind of looking up doing an interview.
Yep.
I think there's only two programs in the league that interview the coach right after the game on the web stream. So our guys do it and you guys do it. Maybe I'm missing somebody, but
I think
I
Wheaton
think
does a little bit.
yeah. Oh,
Does
Mike
Wheaton do it a
Shower
little bit?
does it.
I
Now
think Mike does it a little bit.
those are hot takes right there, Coach. If you can check out Coach Shower in the seconds following a loss, like I'm always ready to screenshot that thing because that's pure gold. But in all seriousness, I do think those are super cool. And Sean Smith, the reason I thought of that is Sean Smith is so good on those and just so genuine in how he would answer questions. And so yeah, my only request of you is that if you could continue that tradition with my guy Greg Sager, I think
Yeah.
fans love that stuff. It's like they want to know what the coach thinks after a win or a loss, and it's so unique to be able to hear it.
Yeah,
But
for
Edwin
sure.
McGhee, this has been awesome, and really was. It seemed to me from what I was reading between lines and how quick North Park was putting tweets out that I felt like what they were saying is, Friday at 9 a.m. we're going to introduce our new coach, and I felt like that had to be you. And I was really thrilled to find out that it was. It seems like this is a right guy in the right place kind of thing. Thrilled that you're staying in the CCIW. And I want to give you the final thoughts here. Lots of North Park folks will tune into this to check out their new coach, who they know very well already, and some CCIW people, D3 people. What would you leave people with on the QCast today, Coach?
Come support. It's going to be fun. We're gonna have a blast. We're gonna bring a bunch of hard nosed kids in here that wants to compete to win. But come support, come see us. Let's pack the Cracker House out, the Cracker Box out, and let's do it. Let's go try to shoot for number 6. And we're gonna do our best to do that. And go Vikings.
Yeah, there's plenty of room there's 2 cinder blocks there over your left shoulder to the
We
right
got
of
to
that
move it.
1987. There's
We got to
room to
scoot it
get some
over.
more in there for
Got to
sure.
scoot them
So,
over.
folks, that is the coach Edwind McGhee. He's the brand new coach of the North Park Vikings. Shout out to Sean Smith again, and thanks for all of his support and being on the QCast. And look forward to having Coach McGhee back on here talking about some big wins and some tournament games and that kind of stuff. Edwin, thank you for taking the time to do this. I know you're busy trying to recruit and get things going, so really appreciate you taking time to do the QCast.
Thank you so much, Bob. I appreciate you having me.
We'll talk soon. Thank you.